Hello everyone, my name is Adeeba and today we are going to deal with a very important chapter of class 11 biology, that is plant kingdom. So plant kingdom is a chapter which deals with the classification of planting, kingdom planting, and we will study about different plants and in which manner they are classified, how do we differentiate between plants and what are the important points which help in differentiation between plants and what are their importance, both ecological as well as economical. Okay, so the first thing is that what are the kingdoms under which plant kingdom comes. So we know that Linnaeus gave us two kingdom classification, that is Animalia and Plantae. So Animalia and Plantae were the two classifications which were given by Linnaeus, and previously there were only Animalia and Plantae in which all the organisms were put into. But when Whitaker came, he classified the organisms into five kingdoms, that is Monera, Protista, fungus, plantae, and animalia. Whitaker was the one who classified all the organisms on the basis of their basic morphological characteristics as well as the cytological characteristics, and he put all the organisms into five kingdom classification, that is Monera, Protista, fungi, plantae, and animalia, of which we are going to deal with Planty today. We will study about different structures, different characteristic features, their important points, their ecological and economical benefits, and how humans as well as animals are benefited from these plants. The classification of plants. The kingdom Plantae can be classified as algae, plants with or without embryo. Embryo means a small portion of plant which will give rise to another new plant. Okay? That means the formation of zygote and embryophyta, plants with embryo. These are further classified as follows. So, kingdom Plantae is first classified into two. First is algae and the other is embryophyta. Algae is without embryo, whereas embryophyta is with embryo. That means there are embryo present in embryophyta, and this embryophyta further classified into many other classifications. We'll see in this. The kingdom Plantae is classified into algae and embryophyta. Algae is further classified as rhodophyceae, phaeophyceae, and chlorophyceae. Rhodophyceae means red algae, Phaeophyceae is brown algae, and chlorophyceae is green algae. Okay, now this algae in which it is classified as rhodophyceae, phaeophyceae, chlorophyceae, it is on the basis of the pigments which are present. And these pigments give particular color to the algae or the thala of the algae. And on the basis of their appearance, due to the presence of certain chlorophylls which are present, in the algae, it is divided into rhodophyceae, phaeophyceae, and chlorophyceae. Rhodophyceae appears reddish in color, so it is also called red alga. Phaeophyceae appears a slight brownish in color, so it is called as brown alga. And chlorophyceae, that is green in color due to presence of chlorophyll A and B. So it is called as green algae. Green algae is actually a precursor of the green plants, which are further divided into bryophyta, tracheophyta. We know that evolution led to all this. When evolution took place, now Phaeophyceae, Rhodophyceae, Chlorophyceae, they all evolved into green plants. So the first pigment which was present, which is still present in plants like grown up plants, wooded plants, all these plants, they got their basic pigment, that is chlorophyll A and B, from where? It is from chlorophyceae, because evolution was taking place and they evolved into bryophyta, tracheophyta, which were further into angiosperms and gymnosperms. So embryophyta, it is further divided into bryophyta and tracheophyta. Bryophyta, the vascular tissue is absent. What are vascular tissue? Xylem and phloem. We are aware The vascular tissue, xylem and phloem help in the transport of water and food, nutrition, minerals to the plant. So xylem helps in the transport of water and phloem helps in the translocation of food. We use the word translocation. And tracheophyta, it is vascular tissue present. That means xylem and phloem, they both are present. Bryophyta is further divided into liverworts, hornworts, and mosses. And those liverworts, hornworts, and mosses are divided on the basis of the structure. What is their basic structure? The appearance and the structure helps in the division of liverworts, hornworts, and mosses. Brachiophita, the vascular tissue is present, and pteridophytes and spermatophytes. Pteridophytes, there is absence of seed. The seed is absent, and in spermatophyte, the seed is present. Okay, so pteridophytes, the seed is absent. They are also divided into further classification, that is Tylopsida, Lycopsida, Sphenopsida, Pteropsida, and the spermatophytes in which seeds are present, they are further divided into two, that is gymnosperms and angiosperms. Gymnosperms, the seed is naked. So gymnosperms, gymno and sperma, the name itself means naked seeded. Angiosperm, the seed is enclosed in fruit. So the basic uh, plants that we see all around us, we see those plants which are angiosperms. Angiosperms are the most widely spread plants because of their better survival rate. They have seeds which are enclosed in fruits. So when these seeds enclosed in fruits they are eaten by humans, birds, or any other animal, it gets dispersed. And when it gets dispersed, the pollination takes place. We know that pollination is the basic requirement for spreading of the plants in the in its ecology. So when this spreading of the seeds takes place from one place to the other by the help of a fruit. So that is why the angiosperms, they are widely spread because of better pollination, because of better survival of the seed which is enclosed with fruits. Now angiosperms is further divided into dicots and monocots. Dicots, which have two cotyledons, and monocots have only one, single. Gymnosperms, which are naked seeded plants, they are further divided into Phycodopsida, Coniferopsida, and Nitopsida. It is called Nitales. Okay? So Phycodopsida is cycads, Coniferopsida is conifers, Ginkgopsida is ginkgogales, and Nitopsida is Nitales. We are very familiar with the term ficus and pinus. And conifers, we see conifers in two places. First, that is in the deserts, and second, that is in the hilly areas. Hilly areas have conifers. We see those trees which have pines. So those trees, they are coniferopsida. We have been through the kingdom Plantae and its classification. We can see that algae and embryophyta were the two classes in which it was classified. And then further, algae is rhodophyceae, phaeophyceae, and chlorophyceae. Then embryophyta is further divided into two, that is bryophyta and tracheophyta. Bryophyta also has its own different classes, that is liverworts, hornworts, and mosses. And tracheophyta, vascular which bears vascular tissues, it is further divided into Pteropsida and Spermatopsida. Spermatopsida itself means seed, sperma. Okay? Pteropsida is further divided into Silopsida, Lycopsida, Sphenopsida, Pteropsida, and Spermatophytes. They are further classified as gymnosperms and angiosperms. Gymnosperms, they are naked seeded, also Lycopsida, Coniferopsida, Ginkgopsida, and Nettles, and angiosperms, they are dicot and monocot. We will go thoroughly through what algae has to teach us. We will look into all the points that algae has in itself, some important points. So algae, alga, that means seaweed. So they are predominantly present in the sea. So they are called as seaweed. The term algae was coined by Linnaeus for seaweed. Algae are represented by about 30,000 species and they're distributed all over the world. The body or thallus of a multicellular algae is not differentiated into root, stem, and leaf, and it may be in the form of filaments, sheets, colonial aggregation of the cell. The filaments and the sheets are very often attached to the substratum with the help of holdfast. So, by this point, we can see that the multicellular alga is not differentiated into root, stem, and leaf. We see the plants are differentiated into root, they have their root, stem, and then leaf. But alga is somewhat like this. So there is no differentiation between root, stem, or leaf. We can't see roots, we can't see stem, we can't see leaves in an algae. And that is the only reason why it is called as thallus. We will refer thallus term to all the plants which are not differentiated into root, stem, and leaf. They are actually thallolite, that means they are aggregation of cells and nothing more than that. It means that there is no differentiation between cells. There is no differentiation so that it can form root, stem, or leaf. We can only divide it on the basis of how it is attached to the substratum. Substratum means the soil. The soil here is called substratum. So some algae they attach to the substratum by holdfast. Holdfast is root-like structure. Whenever there is no differentiation of cell, but the thallus is attached to the substratum by something which is looking like root, right? But it is not root. So we call it root-like structure. Okay. So holdfast is a root-like structure which helps in the attachment of the thala of algae to the substratum. Some algae are complex and very long, measuring up to 60 meters in length. We see that algae are not only multicellular, looking like an aggregate, but they are also filamentous. Some algae are filaments like, okay, some algae we see it is filamentous, and some are very long, about 60 meters in length. So that algae is actually kelp. We call it kelp. And the aggregate is volvox. It is the aggregate of cells. It something looks like this aggregate of cells. And kelps, they are present in the sea and they are about 60-meter long. So in their appearance, algae can be of various shapes and sizes. They can be in various forms as well, like they can be in a form of sheet, in form of filament, in form of aggregate of cells, and they can even be very long, very complex and very long, like about 60 meters, as in a case of kelp. The general characteristics of algae. We will deal in some points some of the general characteristics of algae. Algae are aquatic, we all know, either marine or freshwater forms. Some grow in moist and terrestrial habitats like wet rocks, moist soil, and tree trunks. Algae, by this, requires water or moisture in an ample amount to grow in any place. So, wherever there is moisture, like aquatic or freshwater forms, or even in terrestrial habitat where there is constant moisture present, like in wet rocks, moist soil, and tree trunks, algal growth is seen. Some grow in hot springs, like thermal algae, some in snow, which are called as bryophytes, and some form association with fungus to form lichens. We have seen what lichens is. Lichens is the aggregation of algae plus fungus, and it is a very important commensal which is seen, algal and fungus, because it is very important in the succession of rocks, bare land, lichens are first seen, and it is also a very important indicator of pollution. If a place has a lot of pollution, the lichens will not grow there. So it is a very important or a very important indicator of pollution as well as very important for ecological succession. The algae may be unicellular like Chlamydomonas. We have seen Chlamydomonas look something like this, and chlorella or colonial like volvox. Volvox forms a colony of filamentous like Spirogyra and Ulothrix and flattened sheet cells as in Alba and Dictyota. So Alba and Dictyota they have flattened sheet-like structure and Spirogyra and Ulothrix they are filamentous. The plant body is called thallus. We know that plant body is called thallus because it is not differentiated into root, stem, and leaf. The filamentous and sheet-like or polycis algae are attached to the substratum and are differentiated into three parts. So the filamentous or sheet-like algae, they are attached to the substratum. You know that they're attached to substratum by something called as holdfast, and they are further differentiated into three parts. Holdfast for the attachment of substratum. If we assume that this is alga and this is a substratum, so it is attached by holdfast with type or stem-like structure. We'll consider this as type and lamina of frond, a flattened leaf-like portion for photosynthetic tissue. So this is a frond. Okay. So all those filamentous or sheet-like algae, they are attached to the substratum and further they are differentiated on the basis of their structure and nothing more. Differentiated into holdfast, type, and frond. Frond is leaf-like structures, type is stem-like, and holdfast is root-like structure. Okay. Moving on to another point, that is mucilaginous covering. We have seen that algal cells they are covered by mucilage, and whenever a point comes why something is covered by mucilage, the first thing that should click in our mind is in order to prevent a thing from desiccation, in order to prevent something from its loss of moisture, a mucilage covering is present even on the plants, not only in the algal plants but also in other plants as well. We say that mucilage covering is present, and that is only because that water loss is prevented. So mucilaginous covering, algal cells are covered by mucilage. Mucilage protects the algal thalli from desiccation, epiphytic growth, and from decaying effect of water. The vascular tissue, it is absent. Alga bear aquatic, water conduction is not required. So vascular tissue, it is absent. We know that when we studied that in two classes it is differentiated. So vascular tissue was not present. Vascular tissue was not in the class of alga. We have seen that. So vascular tissue was absent, and why it is absent, it is very clear because of the habitat of algae. It is present in aquatic environment, so it does not need the transport of water from one cell to another in order to meet its requirement. Water in the habitat where alga lives, the water is ample enough, so it does not need to transport water in the so the vascular tissue inside the alga it is absent because water conduction is not necessary thing for algae. Six, that is mechanical tissue. It is found in land plant but not found in the algae. The thala is held upright under the water due to buoyancy. Okay, so mechanical tissues that means the sclera, scleroid, or cellulose. These mechanical tissue are present inside the plants which are terrestrial because they need to stand upright. But in water, inside the sea, there is no need of the mechanical tissue because of the buoyancy. The plants are always upright because of the water. The plant are always in upright position, so that they do not need mechanical tissue. Flexibility of thala enables them to sway with the tide without being torn. So if we can just imagine that the mechanical tissue is present inside the algae and waves are all there are waves, there are tides which are inside the sea. So what will happen if the mechanical tissue were present? The alga will become stiff, and if the alga becomes stiff, those mechanical waves, those waves are going to tear the alga apart. And when the alga is torn apart, so the plant dies or something other happens. And because of this thing, nature does not give alga mechanical tissue. And because of the absence of mechanical tissue, the algae they have flexibility. So whenever tide comes, They sway with the tide. And when they sway with the tide, they prevent themselves from being torn. Seventh point, nutrition. We know that plants are always autotrophs. Some exceptions are there, but plants are always autotroph. So it is autotrophic. Chloroplast and chromatophores have photosynthetic pigments. These are chlorophyll A, carotenes, and xanthophylls. We will study about other chlorophylls as well when we further study about all the other algae. So, nutrition, the algae take the nutrition by the help of photosynthesis. We know that. And how photosynthesis happens? By the help of chloroplast, chromatophores, and other pigments that such as chlorophyll A, B, C, carotenoids, and xanthophylls. And eight, vegetative reproduction. It occurs by fragmentation. Fragmentation is the process in which a portion of thallus is broken down, and this will give rise to another plant, another algae. So vegetative reproduction is by fragmentation. Asexual reproduction, it takes place by motile and non-motile spores. These spores are of two types: mitospores, produced as a result of mitosis, and meiospores, which are formed by meiotic division. We know that there are two types of cell division present. First is mitosis, and the other one is meiosis. So, mitosis, the spores which are formed by mitosis, they are called mitospores, and the spores which are produced as a result of meiosis, they are called as meiospores. So, we have divided spores into two by the help of the mode of cell division they have been through. And the second is formed, the most common being zoospores. Zoospores are the most common spores. They are flagellated and on germination give rise to new plants. Zoospores are the most common and they are flagellated. That means flagella is present for their motility, and on germination they give rise to new plant. Sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction, it takes place by the fusion of gametes as a result in zygospore. It is of two types: isogamous. Iso means same, gamous gamete. So isogamous means same type of gamete. So in this type, fusing gametes are morphologically similar but physiologically different. They may be motile like chlamydomonas and non-motile as in Ulothrix and Spirogyra. Isogamous gamete means that they have same size, shape, structure, but they are physiologically different. It means one will be male and the other will be female, comes from female. So if a fusion takes place between same gametes, they are termed as isogamous. Now another is anisogamous. Aniso means not same, gamous, gamete. So in this type, gametes have similar morphology, but they differ in their size and behavior. It means if their morphology is not similar, that means they do not have exact shape, size, and structure, but the physiology is different. Means one will be small and the other one will be large, and the one which is always large comes from the female. The one which is small comes from the male. The larger passive gamete is called macrogamete, while the smaller active gamete it is called microgamete. So this is microgamete. Microgamete will mostly bear a flagella so that it can travel all through to macrogamete. The Chlamydomonas species is an example of the Chlamydomonas is an example of an isogamous type of fusion. Then oogamous. Oogamous, in this type, the female gamete is large, food-laden, non-flagellate, and non-motile. It means it is like an egg. It is called egg or oospore. Egg or oospore. The male gamete is small. Male gamete will be small, flagellated, and because of the flagellar motility is present, it is called sperm or spermatozoid. Sperm, spermatozoid, there are different names which are given to the male gamete or antherozoid. Example is Chlamydomonas, Putenogium, etc. Alternation of generation. Alternation of generation is a term which is seen a lot of times in plant kingdom because these plants they alter. Sometimes they're present in the form of N, and sometimes they're present in the form of 2N. N, then 2N, then N by division, that is meiosis, and this is by fertilization. So we see that alternation of generation, it may or may not be present. Life cycle may be haplontic, so it is called as haplontic, and when 2N is present, it is called as diplontic, and sometimes N and 2N are mixed together, and it is called as diplohaplontic or diplontic type of life. Now, importance of algae. Why algae? Why do we study a subject? In order to know it's important, because it is important to us, so we have to study a particular thing to gain knowledge as well as how we can use it in our life as well. So importance of algae is that it is the producer of aquatic ecosystem. They are the primary producers of the aquatic ecosystem. Due to their photosynthetic activity, algae are the major producer in all aquatic ecosystems. They form the basis of food cycles for all aquatic animals. So they form the basis of food cycles for all the aquatic animals. Fixation of carbon monoxide and release of O. So CO2 is fixed and then O is released. That means all the oxygen that comes in water as well as in the environment, it is through the algae because they are the primary producers and they are actually the largest producers. So algae are estimated to fix nearly 50% of the global carbon monoxide through photosynthesis. For this reason, oceans are called SCO, sink tanks that remove carbon monoxide from atmosphere. Algae enrich the surrounding water with oxygen and released during photosynthesis and thus maintain carbon monoxide and oxygen balance in nature. So they are very important in order to fix carbon monoxide as they fix nearly 50% of the global carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide and release oxygen. So all the oxygen which is present inside water for the survival of fishes and other organisms that comes through algae and as well as in the atmosphere as well. Third point, food. So roughly 70% of the marine algae are used as food. Sargassum, laminaria, and porphyra, these are some of the names that we should remember because they are present. Sargassum, laminaria, and porphyra, they help in because they are the common source of food and fodder. Fodder is food for cattle. If cattle's food is called as fodder, food supplement. Chlorella, unicellular algae, and spirulina. Blue green algae, proteins, vitamins, minerals. So they are being used as food supplements such as single cell protein. We will study about single cell protein and many of the algae they are single cell protein and they are a major source of vitamins, minerals and proteins such as in chlorella, spirulina, and they're also used as a food source for the astronauts because of their nutritionally rich value and easy to carry. So they are used as food supplement for astronauts as well. Now, classification of algae on the basis of their photosynthetic pigments, storage, material, and complexity of structure, algae are classified into three classes: rhodophyceae, geophyceae, and chlorophyceae. If the basis is asked, we can say that on the basis of the photosynthetic pigments, I have already told you that chlorophyll, it is A, B, and C. So on the basis of which chlorophyll is present in the algae are further divided into rhodophyceae, phaeophyceae, and chlorophyll. Storage material and the complexity of the structure. There are other storage material present such as xanthophylls, carotenoids, and inclusion bodies. Which type of inclusion bodies are present in algae? And on the basis of that, it is further divided. The complexity of structure, also on the morphological character. Algae are classified into three classes, that is rhodophyceae, phaeophyceae, and chlorophyll. We can easily remember at which class bears which pigment and the form of stored food, the cell wall structure, and the number of flagella. The flagella which is said, it is in the gamete and the habitat. So we know that there are three classes. Rhodophyceae, Phaeophyceae, and Chlorophyceae. Rhodophyceae is called as red alga because of the presence of chlorophyll A, D, and phycoerythrin. Because of the presence of chlorophyll A, D, and phycoerythrin, the red color is seen, due to which it is called as red alga. The stored food, it is in the form of fluoridin starch. Cell wall, it is of cellulose, pectin, and polysulfate esters, and the flagella is absent. Habitat, it is freshwater, some brackish water, salt water. So, mainly, we need to remember that brackish water and salt water is the habitat of rhodophytes, whereas for chlorophyceae, the habitat is usually freshwater. Theophyceae, that is brown algae, and brown color is due to presence of chlorophyll A and C and fucus. The more amount of fucoxanthin, it is going to be more brownish in color. The stored food is in the form of mannitol and laminarin. And cell wall, it is of cellulose and algin. We need to remember the basic structure of plant. We know that in a normal plant, the stored food is in the form of starch and cell wall is made up of cellulose. And we can see slowly and gradually we are moving towards only cellulose and starch. It means in the course of evolution, the algae they develop into the green plants which are predominant plants in our environment. So, Theophyceae, it is brown algae which has chlorophyll A, C, and fucoxanthin, due to which its brown color is present, and the stored food is in the form of mannitol and laminarine. Cell wall, it is of cellulose and algin. Gametes, they are two, unequal and lateral. Habitat, it is freshwater. We see that it's rare, so it is not present in freshwater, mainly brackish and saltwater. So we see that two algae, they have their habitat as brackish and saltwater. First one is Rhodophyceae, second one is Phaeophyceae. Rhodophyceae, some are present in freshwater, but in Phaeophyceae are very rarely seen in freshwater. They are mainly seen in brackish water and saltwater. Chlorophyceae. Chlorophyceae is green algae because of the presence of chlorophyll A and B, and it is the predominant pigment which is seen in all the green plants. The stored food is in the form of starch. This is also an important point. And the cell wall, it is made up of cellulose. Gametes, they are 2 to 8 equal and apical. We see that two gametes which are unequal, it is a characteristic of Phaeophyceae, whereas 2 to 8 equal gametes, they are the characteristic of Chlorophyceae. Fresh water is present. They are present in fresh water, brackish water, and salt water. So we can see that chlorophyceae is seen in most of the places. Fresh water, brackish water, salt water. But Theophyceae, it is not seen in fresh water, rarely seen in fresh water. So if a question is asked that Theo- name an alga in which two unequal flagella is present. So we can surely say that it is Phaeophyceae. An alga which is rarely seen in fresh water, so the term rarely will indicate towards Phaeophyceae. And some of the alga are seen in fresh water, so it is Rhodophyceae. So by the help of this table, we can solve a lot of questions which are there on the basis of the simple characteristic of the algae and on the basis how it is differentiated. Now, red algae. We will deal with red algae and then with the green algae and then with brown algae. So, red algae, it is Rhodophyceae. The members of Rhodophyceae are called red algae because of the presence of pigment. The members of Rhodophyceae are called red algae because of the presence of red pigment, that is R phycoerythrin, which mask the green color of chlorophyll A. Chlorophyll A gives green color, but the presence of R phycoerythrin, it is reddish in color. There are some of the red algae in this image. We see Porphyra, Polysiphonia, and Paractosperm. So, Porphyra, we see frond, a leaf-like structure. We can see a leaf-like structure is present frond. In Polysiphonia, there will be something which looks like root-like structure, so it is called as holdfast. Then type, which is stem-like, and these will be seen as leaf-like frond structures. Okay, and Baracospermum, it is seen as whorls, enlarged whorls with nodes. There are nodes present and whorls present. So this is red alga, some common red algae which are seen. General characteristics of red algae. Majority of the red algae are marine, abundantly found in warmer waters, like in the Ractospermum, is a freshwater form found in hill streams, and unicellular porphyridum is terrestrial. Secondly, they occur both in well-lighted regions close to the surface of water and at greater depths in ocean where little light penetrates. So they are present in freshwater form like in hill streams, and unicellular porphyridum is terrestrial, and they occur both in well-lighted regions close to surface of water and at greater depth in oceans where little light penetrates. Third, the plant body may be unicellular, like in porphyridum, or filamentous, like in astrocytes and spermothamnium. Parenchymatous sheets, like in porphyra, and ribbon-like chondrus or lace-like chelidum. So it may either be unicellular or it may be unicellular, like in porphyridum, or filamentous, filament-like, something like this. Filamentous structure is present, like in astrocystis and spermothamnium, or they may be parenchymatous sheet-like, like a sheet that is in porphyra. We have seen that porphyra, it is a sheet-like structure, nothing leaf-like, nothing stem, not even a stem is present, not a whole past is present, it is just a sheet. So parenchymatous sheet-like structure, like in porphyra, ribbon-like. Some ribbon-like structure might be seen in case of chondrus or lace-like structures such as in chelidum. This shows that various morphological characteristics are there in a red algae. So cell wall consists of cellulose. We know that cell wall it is of cellulose, pectin, and some mucopolysaccharides that are called as phycocolloids. So cellulose will always be present if it is a plant, must be having cellulose in its cell wall. Some other which might be present, they are pectin, some mucopolysaccharide, and the name of the mucopolysaccharide is phycocolloids. So phycocolloids are also seen next. Some algae are coralline. They secrete deposit calcium carbonate over their walls to form coral-like structures, as in case of corallina. It is named after coralline. So coralline. What are coralline? They secrete calcium carbonate, and this is an algal cell. It will secrete CaCO3, and this CaCO3 gets deposited on the surface of algae, and thus it is termed as coralline. That is coral-like because of the presence of calcium carbonate on the surface of the algae. The cytoplasm of red algae bears colored plastids called chromatophores. The photosynthetic pigments found in the chromatophores are chlorophyll A, chlorophyll D, carotenes, xanthophylls, and biliverdins. We have seen that chlorophyll A, D is present with carotenes, xanthophylls, biliverdins. The biliverdins or phycobilins are water-soluble pigments located in phycobilisomes. There are two types of biliverdins, R-phycoerythrin, which is red in color, and R-phycocyanin, which is blue in color. Phycobilins are the pigments that are found in cyanobacteria. Cyanobacteria, it is from the prokaryotes. The phycoerythrin, they are of two types, R-phycoerythrin and phycocyanin. R-phycoerythrin gives red color, phycocyanin gives blue color, which is the reason why red, blue alga or green and blue algae are seen due to presence of phycocyanin. The red algae are photoautotrophs, but some others are colorless and live as parasites on other photosynthetic red algae such as Harvella. I have said that not all the plants are autotrophs. There are some exceptions present. So, in the case of algae, there is an exception, which is Harvella. Harvella is a colorless alga, which is present as a parasite on the surface of the green algae, and it takes its nutrition from the green algae. So, the name is Harvella. The reserve food is in the form of Floridian starch. We have seen that vegetative reproduction takes place by fragmentation. We know that fragmentation it is the detachment of a portion of a thala, and this portion will give rise to another plant. Asexual reproduction takes place by non-motile spores such as monospores, neutral spores, carpospores, tetraspores, and etc. So there are names of some non-motile spores like monospores, neutral spores, carpospores, tetraspores, and etc. And sexual reproduction is oogamous type. Male sex organs are somatogonium or antheridia, and female sex organs are carpogonium. Male gametes are motile and are called as spermatia. Each carpogonium is flask shaped and remains attached to the plant body. It contains an egg nucleus in its pollen base. Carpogonium possesses an elongated receptive outgrowth that is called as trichome. So there is a flask shaped structure which is present on the surface of alga, and in the flask shaped structure there is egg nucleus present. It contains egg nucleus, and in its pollen base has egg nucleus. Carpogonium present has an elongated receptive outgrowth called trichome. So when a male gamete comes, it will come in the flask-shaped structure and fertilization takes place. When fertilization takes place, zygote is formed. Spermatia are carried by water currents to the trichome to effect fertilization. So, Papagonium it possesses a receptive outgrowth like this, something like this, which is called as trichokine, and spermatia, the male gamete, they are carried in water to the trichome. And when the trichome receives a male gamete, fertilization takes place. The zygote may undergo meiosis to produce a haploid spore or produce a diploid sporophyte by mitosis. It is called as carposporophyte. So, the zygote which is formed, it can either undergo meiosis or mitosis. So, if meiosis occurs, haploid spores are formed, and if mitosis occurs, so it will produce carpospore. The life cycle has alternation of haploid and diploid multicellular generations. We it is seen that the life cycle it will have either haploid plant body, which is converted into diploid and then into haploid. So this conversion from haploid to diploid takes place, and it is called as alternation of generation. And this haploid to diploid conversion takes place only by either mitosis or meiosis. Mitosis and meiosis cycle goes on and alternation of generation takes place. So we have seen by so far the important characteristics of red algae, the general characteristics of red algae, and an overview of an plant kingdom. In the next session, in further sessions, we will see some common red algae and their basic use by humans and by the ecology. Thank you so much.